How's it going, everybody? Wildman Wes here, and welcome to What's Your Poison, the special edition, the Halloween edition. So, as you all know, I got a lot of beers on reserve in my fridge for reviews. It doesn't matter what, but I've realized recently in the past month and a half, I have a lot of Halloween and horror-themed beers. So, to try to figure out which beers to do for this episode was tough. So I decided, as I mentioned in the last episode, we're going to do a two-parter. So, without further ado, we're going to talk about part one with these four beers right here. And we're going to go one by one, and we're going to see exactly how they taste. And we're going to see if maybe you might be interested in getting one of these down the line at your local store. Until then, let's move on to our first beer. So our first beer of the day is from Scarlet Lane Brewing in McCourtsville, Indiana. This is the Irving Dark. This is a shadow ale. I gotta give props to my boy Hefe and his wife Trixie. Trixie was working at Scarlet Lane. She had a couple of these beers on reserve for me quite a while back. It has been sitting around. I'm hoping it still is, fresh. If it's not, well, I mean, hey, then I messed up. But that being said, when I see Shadow Ale and a 4%, I'm a little intrigued, because when I think Shadow Ale, I think it's going to be like a darker ale, maybe a black ale. Maybe it could be because of the fact it's smoky. I'll be honest, I've never had it yet. So just because it's been sitting for a while, I'm going to roll it just in case. You never know. We're gonna pop this open and we're gonna see what we get. Yup, definitely dark ale, black ale right here. I mean, for sitting in my fridge, or at least, in storage for about at least a year, the consistency on the head still looks good. And that smells malty, almost chocolatey. Let's see. I mean, it almost seems like a standard dark ale. So, here we go. Oh, wow. You know how the expression of whether or not something ages well or not? This one aged well. It's very smoky. Not too thick in consistency. It's very... For a 4%, it doesn't taste light. It actually tastes a little heavier. But the flavor profile, there's a little smokiness on the end there. I like that. So, now, like I said, it might be a little bit too hearty for consistency, but I like it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this one a 4.25 out of 5 pows, because this, especially after sitting for at least a year, it's good. It's very good. Actually, it's probably more than a year, now that I think about it. Oops, but still, it's still good. So, Trixie, Hefe, thank you for this. Oh, there's going to be another beer on this lineup today that are from them as well, but we'll get to that as soon as possible. Until then, let's move on to the next beer. So next up for today, from Burr Oak Brewing in Columbia, Missouri, we have Pumpkin Clyde's Pumpkin Cream Ale. I got this from Becca. She was out just grabbing some beers the other day and asked if I wanted anything in particular, anything Halloween-wise, and she found this. And it is a 5.7% pumpkin cream ale, as it says. Self-explanatory. They don't show really anything regarding information, so we're just going to pop this open. Looks very clean, very dark, kind of a very orange amber tint. That smells like a cream ale right there. You get more of the cream ale on the 3 sniff. On the drive-by, you get more of that pumpkin. So, alright, well, let's have a taste. Magical. Cream ales are very hard to get right, because sometimes they're either going to be very sweet, or they're going to be a little bit more on the malted or even like the barley side, where it's going to be almost watered down. This one, you get that even balance of the pumpkin and the cream. So it's not too sweet, but it's not too bitter either. So it's like, this I would say is probably the best cream ale I've ever had, much less almost close to, I wouldn't say the best pumpkin beer I've ever had, but close. It's very close. I'm going to give this one 4 3/4 out of 5 because, man, gonna be sad when this goes after Halloween, but I'm gonna sip on this as slowly as possible, but we will be right back with another beer. For our third beer of the day, we are going back to Scarlet Lane Brewing by way of Hefe and Trixie. This is Horror Hound Returns Ale. This is the official beer of horror for them, and which is kind of cool because when I lived out in Indianapolis for a little while, I actually used to go to the Horror Hound conventions out there where they had all the horror movie people there and all the awesome cosplays and interviews, Q&As, everything like that. And this is kind of nice coming back to this. This one is a 6.66% ABV. You gotta love when they do things like that. But, so, that further being said, we're gonna open this up. I'm not exactly sure what type of ale this one is either. There's no description, but you know, hey. Okay, so this ale has a lighter color and consistency as, you know, besides the Irving Dark. A little cloudy, not too clean, which is cool. You know, it looks. Ooh, okay. So this one, this is going to be more of an IPA because I'm getting more of the hop. Definitely smelling the Citra hop in there. Smells a little earthy. I mean, I'm getting possibly a little bit of that, either the Simcoe or the Strata hop on that one. Well, let's try it. Definitely tastes like a New England style IPA. It's very dry. It's very hoppy. Getting that dank mouthfeel. So yeah, I like this one. It's I wouldn't say like a standard New England IPA profile, but it definitely has that hop is very prevalent. Hang on a second. I need to get another sip. Judge's ruling. Almost malty. Which is really interesting because a lot of IPAs are more hoppy and not very malty. And this one has a little bit of both, so it kind of counterbalances, almost like between a regular IPA and something a little different, like the Horror Hound returning. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna give this one 4 out of 5 pows. I mean, I prefer the Irving Dark over the Horror Hound Returns, but that's not saying that this is a bad beer. This is actually well balanced. I mean, especially after sitting in storage for over a year. So, other than that, I mean, hey, better late than never, right? Well, I'm gonna take my time with this one as well, and we will be right back with our last beer of the day. So for our fourth and final beer of this part one of the Halloween and horror-themed beers from Rogue Brewing in Newport, Oregon, we have Dead and Dead. So this is a new take on the Dead Guy Ale. I have loved a lot of Rogue Brewing, and Dead Guy Ale, I wouldn't say it's like my all-time favorite, but it is definitely a go-to, especially if I see it on tap somewhere at a brewery or a tap house. And this one is 9.5% ABV, and the description reads, Dead and Dead complements the flavor profile of our classic Dead Guy Ale with oak, vanilla, and fruit notes from the Oak Dead Guy Whiskey Barrel Chips. Alright, so when it comes to whiskey barrel or even bourbon barrel style ales and beer and stouts, I'm very critical, I'm very judgmental because you can mess it up very, very quickly. But most of them I've actually enjoyed. So, and I've never had this one yet, so this is a treat because you get to see a first-time reaction of me trying this one out. So, enough chit-chat. We're opening this up, and we are going to have a look and a taste. Slightly dark amber color. Looking at the consistency a little bit. That's interesting. I'm getting a little vanilla, but not much. Let's see, fruit notes. Almost like apricot, maybe? Apricot? I don't know how you say that word, but who cares, right? Now, whiskey barrel chips, I'm getting kind of a sweetness, but almost a burn, so that's possibly a good thing, but here we go. Oh. tastes like whiskey, that's for sure. It has that very acrid, kind of dry. It lingers. Definitely lingers. You don't make the whiskey face though, but I mean, well, I would probably say this is a one and done for me, because, or even not just that, it's a sipper. It's definitely a sipper, because after you get to that, past the 8% and 9% and higher, these are those where it tastes so good it's dangerous, because if you're going to be drinking, ABVs at this, degree throughout the night, it's something that you don't want to play with too much, because eventually it will hit you and you will be having a bad time the next day. But solid beer, I would say, I enjoy the flavor profile because I am a whiskey guy and I am a bourbon guy, like outside of beer. But this one, I'm a little perplexed, because on the backside it shows that it's very heavy on vanilla. I'm not really getting vanilla. I'm getting like a sweetness, but it's definitely not vanilla. What I'm worried about is that the whiskey, the whiskey barrel chips is overpowering the rest of the flavor and the notes. So as much as this is going to pain me to do, I'm giving this 3 3/4 out of 5 pows. I know that's probably giving it not enough credit, but if I was going to be drinking this all night, it's going to hurt me in the morning. So that's why I'm saying this is definitely one of those one and dones. Now, for all of you that are big fans of like the bourbon barrel and the whiskey barrel, and you're heavy hitters and you can handle these all night, you know what? I recommend this one for you, definitely. Well, we hope you enjoyed part 1 of 2 of our Halloween and horror themed beers for the month of October. If you've had these beers and you agree with my review, give a thumbs up. If you disagree with me, you can leave a thumbs down, and you can kind of give an experience or even just some comments of what you found you liked in any of these beers that I may have either given a better grade or a worse grade on. And that's totally all right, because I'm interested to know what people feel about certain beers and what they like and why they like it. Other than that, make sure you share on social media, and let's push that little red button to get that algorithm up, and also ring that bell for some instant notifications. Also, Halloween's around the corner, and I've been doing Shocktoberfest for a while now. We've had some great movies, we've had some not so great movies. Hey, kind of like these beers, right? Well, make sure that you check that out too. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes, and we will see you next time for part 2 of What's Your Poison, Halloween and Horror, and also the rest of Shocktoberfest. Take care, stay scared, and cheers.